Hey, so Chico's over here distracted, digging for a. What you got? What are you doing? What are you doing? You don't want your ball? You saw this. Your nose doesn't lie into you, huh? So, just picking up from that last video. What the Father has just been showing me through the last couple chapters of Isaiah is just how the truth behind the revelation in the book of Revelation, that the dragon has deceived the whole world. And it doesn't just say, the world but the elect. It says the whole world. And then people want to say, well, we're not of the world. But then he says that you are of the world. And he shows how you're of the world, because you speak as if you're clean. And Christ said, or Messiah said, that, it's not what goes in your mouth that defiles you. And in the sense that he's talking about what's in your spirit, that's the truth. Also, our physical state is a reflection of our spiritual state. What we're putting in our mouth, and then depending on our attitude, is going to reflect our spirit. And so the amazing thing is that there's these people that are condemning their brother and sister, calling them fool, calling them idiot, because they have differing views of whether they should be keeping the feast in or out of the land. And on that note, when people read and they go from the beginning and they read that, they were in Egypt when they first started doing these feasts, and then, didn't they do this? Didn't they create a tabernacle? Didn't they do this when they were wandering in the wilderness before they were ever in the land? So there's good reason that there's confusion. But instead of beating people and ostracizing people and striking the stone, I don't think that's the right approach. And I think that that's also the error of Moses when he struck the stone the second time instead of speaking to the stone. We have a brother that gives us a bad example, like Cain, so to speak, Cain or Esau, and then we have a brother that gives us a good example. And Haval's offering, it was good, and then he was murdered, and then Seth took over his line. And we have this picture of these two brothers. And then the picture that we ultimately get in the Bible is where the younger brother in stature usurps the older brother in stature, but has a spirit that the father wants to lift up over the spirit of the older brother, or the elder brother, or the brother of stature. And there's a lot to glean in terms of our brotherhood just from the story of Joseph, the account of Joseph, the fact that out of all those 11 brothers, including himself, that only one was not guilty of betraying their brother, being willing to murder their brother, sell their brother into slavery, go buy sandals with that money and wear sandals on their feet with the money of their brothers being sold like property, and then lying to their father, swearing a death oath about this among themselves, and never telling their father the truth, never going to look for their brother. This is a very powerful picture of the majority of our brothers and how they're going to treat us. But there are going to be a few Josephs out there, and there are going to be a few Benjamins, and they can come together, and they don't have to carry that guilt of their brothers, and they have an opportunity to enter into the kingdom, the house of truth together, by how they treat one another, and how they honor one another is how they also honor the Father. You can't honor the Father, approach your father one way and your brother another way. You have to have a consistent approach. And if you're speaking to your brother one way and you don't think that you're speaking to your father at the same time, because you don't understand the concept of a rock, which is a father and a son in one house. They're echad. Same reason why the word echad, the first two letters is eich, brother, and then daleth, doorway. So depending on how you pursue brotherhood is going to be the doorway of your life, effectively. But it's also that doorway to oneness, because it literally takes a brother for a man to really have oneness in this realm with his equal. It's there's an element of union with his woman, but his woman is not another man. when he has a brother, and then they are able to face each other as two men and relate. That's when iron really sharpens iron. And I believe that's also part of why this word one or union, echad, in Hebrew is brother, doorway. Now, if I didn't study Hebrew, I wouldn't have that insight. And there was something there for us to learn. That's why he gave us a word that's written like that. Same as dog in Hebrew, which is literally Kalav, which is that kaf, the open hand, as lav, heart. So dog in Hebrew is literally as heart, Kalav, dog. Well, that's pretty interesting also, because there's a hidden aspect there in between the what I would call K, L, and B or V. Some people would say Caleb or Kalav. In between those letters, you're hearing this Kala, Caleb, right? That's the hidden aspect of the Elaf. And that Elaf, there's an aspect there in that Kalav that also sounds a little bit like Av or Ab, father. So there's even an allusion to all father, and then heart, and as heart for a dog in terms of its nature and in the name that it was given by Adam. So this is the power, and this is just like some of the beauty of the Hebrew language. And honestly, I just fully expect some brothers are going to be jealous of that because they haven't put that time in, and some brothers are just jealous of other people's gifts regardless of how they're presented or offered. And you can do your best to offer it and not impose it on someone. I certainly have not imposed Hebrew on anyone. And even in my understanding that chicken is not clean, I don't go around telling people that they're going to hell if they eat chicken. But I do point out that it reveals that Matthew 66 reveals a lot more than just swine flesh eaters. It reveals the 666, the 2/3. It reveals the 1/3, which is parallel to also Jerusalem, which says 2/3 of Jerusalem will be destroyed, 1/3 will remain. Well, of the three brothers, Ephraim, Ishmael, Yehuda, so to speak, and these three brothers, the monotheistic religions, of the three, one eats pork. Of the three, all three eat effectively chicken and call it clean. Now, let's say I'm wrong. Let's say Isaiah 66 and that which eats the mouse isn't ultimately the chicken, which I'm suggesting and offering that it is. What is it then? But when you look at it and understand that it's literally the guilt is reflected of this unclean thing that we're partaking of in our physical body as a reflection of our spiritual state between these religions, which are Christianity, Judaism, Catholicism, I would say, is outside, actually Antichrist, and then ultimately you have Islam, which is also monotheistic. But I don't believe Catholicism is even the same. I believe that Muslims, Jews, and Christians tend to believe that they're worshiping what is commonly referred to the Yah of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Anyway, this is just my offering because ultimately it's an attitude of reverence and respect. He says to work out our salvation in fear and trembling. So it's reverence and respect for our Father, and in that same reverence and respect for our Father would be reverence and respect for our brother as well. And remembering that just because our brother is further behind us in the path doesn't mean that they're not our brother. Maybe they're not coming into the same amount of knowledge or information, but that just makes us even more responsible than them. So those are my 2 cents for today. I hope that's helpful to somebody out there. Father, just pray that you would use these words to be a blessing, that they would be seeds of truth, that there would be no guile, Father, on my lips, that my words, Father, my sharing, my time would be fruitful, Father, for you, for your glory, for your kingdom's sake, for your people. I thank you and I praise you in your Son's name, in the name of the Lamb. Amen.